Hello, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to show you the steps for making this wooden straight edge with a handle. We are going to start here at the bandsaw, where we are going to resaw off a strip of wood, and it's going to be long enough for making two straight edges, so this is good if you do this with a partner. We're going to put it in with the taller side going up so that we end up with a wider strip. We're going to start the machine by pressing the start button. We have a push stick ready to go to help our hands stay safe and away from the blade. So make sure that the tall side is pointed up so we're cutting a wide strip. Notice that the push stick is being used to press the wood tightly against the fence, and when I get close to the blade, I'm going to use this corner of the push stick to push the wood all the way through the cut while maintaining pressure against the fence. Alright, we're going to stop the machine, and we're going to use the foot brake to make sure the blade has stopped before we take our wood away. We're going to head over around to the planer. We're going to start by making sure that the planer is set to the right height. You can see that the wood's too thick right now for what we want, so we're going to make sure that the planer is set to exactly 1/8 of an inch, and our wood should be slightly thicker than that. We're going to put the rough face up, so it's the rough face is facing the ceiling. We're going to mark it with a pencil. We could read the wood grain to make sure we're cutting with the grain. Put an arrow on that. I'm going to turn on the machine. We're going to put it underneath the guard on the table. The rollers will grab it and pull it through. We move to the other side. We'll remove it. Check our thickness. It's the same as the other one, 1/8 of an inch. Now we're going to use the table saw to cross cut the wood to the length. Now we want ours to fit into our compass box perfectly. So we'll start by measuring the inside length of our compass box, and it's about 8 inches. We should cut slightly under that to make sure that it fits in there with a little bit of a gap at the top and the bottom. So if you look over the top of the crosscut sled, there are rulers on each side. I'm going to push our piece of wood down to a little bit less than 8 inches. Alright, to be safe cutting this, we're going to put our thumbs behind this fence, wrap our fingers around, and hold the wood down. So my thumbs are behind. I'm making sure that the wood is at 8 inches or a little less. And I slide the whole sled through, and now I have cut one 8-inch strip. Now with the extra, there's about an extra inch on the end that I want to trim off. So I'm going to put that strip back in the saw and line it up with the length I want to cut, which is 8 inches. Notice that my left hand isn't holding on to the wood. It's just holding on to the fence and helping slide the sled through the cut. I'm going to push that little piece of wood out of the way, throw it in the scrap bin, and now I have another strip. The next step is to laser engrave and laser cut. There's a template already created for you that has the hexagon cut out. You can see it on the left there. You want to make sure that your design isn't in the center because the handle goes there. I'm just engraving my initials signature on one end. Make sure it's your program that's loaded in the engraver, and then go ahead and start it. It usually starts with the engraving, which you can see here on the right. We'll jump ahead here, and when it finishes the engraving, it's going to do the cutting. Make sure that you're not looking directly at the cutting because the laser is very bright when it cuts. Alright, when it finishes, we can go ahead and take it out, throw away the little hexagon piece, and move on to the next step. We're going to make the handle using the same crosscut sled setup on the table saw. The handle we want to be about 2 inches long, and so we're going to, just to check that, yep, 2 inches makes a good handle. It goes right in the center. We're going to line that up with the 2 inches on the ruler. Make sure our thumbs are behind the fence, and we're going to carefully slide that through and slide it back. Carefully take the wood out. Alright, that's the handle. It's going to go right in the center. For this part, to make sure that we end up with this in the center, we're going to need to lay this out here. We're going to do a little arithmetic first. We have an 8-inch long straight edge. We have a 2-inch long handle, and we want to know where we're going to center that. Well, if we take that 8 inches and we subtract that 2 inches from that middle part, we're left with 6 inches on each side, which we want to divide up into 2 parts. So we're going to take that 6 inches, we're going to divide it in half. So we know that we want 3 inches on each side of this. So I'm going to carefully mark very lightly, because I want this to show up later, 3 inches on that side and 3 inches on this side, and my 2-inch handle should fit in there. Now we want to put the handle the tall way up so that it gives us more to hold on to when we're using this to draw straight lines. Now you could do the same thing for centering it this way, but at such a small distance. When you glue this on, if you're careful and you look at it, you're going to be able to put it exactly in the middle, just using your brain. Next step, we're going to glue that on where we laid it out. We want to be careful only to use a tiny bit of glue so we don't have a lot of cleanup. So we're going to put just a tiny drop of glue on this. That might be too much, and we're going to spread that out carefully to make sure we got that whole connection. And if you have too much, like that, you can wipe that off with a paper towel if you need to. But we don't want any on these edges. And then we're going to carefully line that up between those spots. And it's going to slide around on us a little bit when we do this next step. So we're going to make sure it's in the spot, make sure it's centered. I'm going to take a spring clamp. Got to have a little bit of wrist muscle for this, and we're going to carefully put it on there. Now it might move on you, so after you get it in the spring clamp, you're going to carefully check to make sure that it is right in the center. And if you want to be sure, you could take a ruler and measure one side, it's 1/4 inch, measure the other side, and if it's not centered, and I can see it that it isn't, I'm going to push that over a little bit, make sure it's the same on both sides. And I'm going to leave that clamp on there for about 30 minutes, and I'm going to let it set overnight. Now I'm going to take some time to sand this to break any of these edges so it feels good in my hands, any rough spots. And you could break the top edge, but you want to make sure that this edge stays as a straight edge. So if you sand that too much, then you're going to lose some material and it won't be straight anymore. So make sure you're paying attention to where you're sanding and that you're keeping this edge straight. And finally, the last step is to add some finish. We are going to use some shellac to seal it up and protect it and bring out the beauty of the wood grain. So we want probably a few coats on this because this is going to get handled. We want it to look and feel nice, and we want to make sure that it's not going to get dirty and absorb the oils and dirt from our fingertips when we use it. and we want it to last a very long time. So I'm probably going to put at least 6 coats, maybe more, on this to make it very nice.